Alright, hey guys, AnimeWestReacts here. This is my reaction to One Piece chapter 1136. Honestly, didn't remember the chapter was coming out. Country that awaits the sun. So we got mysterious hidden base in Udon. So Sasaki here, or page one is captured, brings them back to this base, which is who's base, or like his transformed, basically head biting through the roof of it, interestingly. But yeah, getting into the actual chapter, even the meat is huge. Luffy is eating, saying it's so tasty. This moose reminds me of dinosaur meat. And I forget the dude's name. The old guy says, quite tricky to catch, as ferocious as they are delicious. Arjuden says, no task is too great for one savior. And Luffy says, I appreciate it, Arjuden Stanson. And I laugh and says, glad you like it. The old giant says it's rare for humans to make it all the way to the Sun Realm. Most confuse the underworld for Elbaf proper and flee before they find their way up here. And he says, listen up. Listen up. The mighty Ors was a warrior legendary even to you giants. Usopp said he'd tower over any of you 3 times over, and guess who finally finished him? That's right, it was me. It's like, woo, way to go, Captain Usopp. Wow, and to Jinbei, it says, wow, your skin is really blue. And got like a giant, like, pushing up glasses saying, you see, Fishman Island, there's as many skin tones as there are fish in the sea. And then, or that's Jinbei saying that. The giant says, I've always wanted to see a mermaid. No shame in that. They're a sight to behold. Mermaid Cove is even more enticing than heaven itself. He says, whoa. And Sanji says, that said, my heart soars just as much when I see you giant ladies. They're like, oh, Sanji-kun, you're so silly, it's cute. He says, woohoo, beauty's everywhere I look. I'm getting buried in babes. And they say, what about you? And Brooke's like, who, me? So I can answer with my own blues, my what the heck am I ditty. Yeah. Well, the giant says, I guess it's a big, wide world out there, so let's toast to it. And Zoro says, I'm surprised so many giants have never gone out to sea. Or Nami said that, or one of them, well, someone says that, and then someone says, yeah. Kind of assumed they were all pirates. And then Rhodes says her and says, Nami Tasso, I want to apologize to you and this utter straw hat about before. And then, yeah, I say, he ain't forgiven yet. He ain't gonna be forgiven that easily, but beating a proper apology out of him is the least we could do. And then Rhodes says, Jared Tasso's sadistic side really makes my heart flutter. And Zoro's like, don't sweat it, it's not like anyone died. And that's, he's like, oh, that's only because Usopp stopped me. If he didn't, it would have been your head. And then Rhodes, like, falls over, and they laugh. But yeah, Giant says, don't tell me you picked a fight without checking the current bounties. You stood no chance. And then, yeah, Gerd's like, don't hold back next time. And Rhodes like, Gerd? She's so far she can't get enough. He's like, come on, everybody. Everyone born here on Elbaf shares the same dream, to become the next sun god and rule the world. He's like, sun god? They're like, are you kidding me? The sun god isn't a ruler. That's right, he's the god of liberation. So it's more like destruction. They're like, you're wrong. Everyone knows he's a god of laughter. And Luffy's like, it's getting rowdy. What's this about a god? They say the sacred Harley texts have been passed down for generations in Elbaf. The legends are written in an archaic language, so there have been countless interpretations. No one can say for sure which translation is accurate, and this is the result. According to the Harley text, the world has already been destroyed twice before, and the name of sun god Nika is involved after each instance. Luffy's like, Nika? Says, who can say if he was the world's savior or the great destroyer who brought it crashing down? All we know for sure is that he heralds great change. That's why the rulers of the day always tend to fear Nika's return. He's like, Nika. And then Luffy's like, that's the guy Bonnie mentioned. And really forgetting the old guy's name. He says, yes, the sun god has become a symbol, someone the hopeless and desperate turn to for salvation. They say Nika is adorned by white clouds with white hair and white clothes to boot, and he is said to have a contagious booming laugh. And he was like, no wonder everyone's been saying I look similar, but I'm sure he's got nothing to do with me. And then, yeah, Stanson's like, don't be so dismissive, Straw Hat. Arjudan's like, you'd understand if you were born in Elbaf. And then Goldberg says, we look up to Nika. And he says, not to defend Road, but he wasn't lying about us all sharing the same dream. And he's like, And he says, Loki was the same. I believe his motive for Harald's murder was his attempt to follow in Nika's footsteps. And they say, nothing can justify what he did, Elder. And then Loki's like, Loki. Loki's like, so he's a good guy. Like, no way in hell. He is the accursed prince. There was a prophecy before Loki was born that foretold that King Harold would be slain by his son. Then, shortly after his birth, the royal steed, the horse of fortune, died. And they say that was the same year that Linlin murdered the legendary hero Jorl. And the tragedies kept coming. A year later, the queen herself passed on. The princeling would go on to use his natural strength to make the realm of the dead his own personal playground, killed many of the ferocious beasts, and tamed the rest. He even released a few into the villages. And that was all by the age of 10. So he was an arsonist. Loki's mischief endangered countless lives. He had the authority of a prince and a malicious personality. He caused hell whenever the king wasn't looking. Then finally, in the very castle, Loki killed King Harold, the greatest monarch Elbaf ever knew. Splendid wise man who tried to connect with the outside world, to get people to see beyond Elbaf's feared reputation as a land of warriors. Lord Jarl was stabbed trying to stop Loki. And he's like, my helmet saved me in the end. Yeah, Luffy's like, it didn't save anything. He says, Loki's reign of terror finally came to an end 6 years ago. He was running amok at sea when Red-Haired captured him. And he says, Shanks really came here. And they say, yeah, in fact, he was just here earlier. I'm not sure where he went off to, though. Zoro's like thinking. Shows Zoro like ... So we go to the village outskirts. Someone says, I thought you were acting on edge earlier. That explains it. So yeah, says, you realize he's a reviled Kingslayer, right? Everything he told you was absolutely just a lie. So yeah, got Luffy to tell him what's going on. So yeah, Luffy says he said he knew where Shanks was. Do you have any idea how badly I want to see him again? And Zoro's like, yes, I've heard about it 1,000 times. Sounds to me like he was using that to trick you. And he says, how would you know? You've never met Loki yourself. And then, yeah, Zoro's like, I haven't. I'm just guessing based on his reputation. He says, I'll tell you everything I know. That includes Redhair's current whereabouts. That's what he told Luffy. And then, yeah, he was like, if that really was really a lie, I'm going to send him flying. And then Nami's like, if you're sneaking off to do it, I think you are. Did you seriously expect to find your way there without me? Zoro says, listen up, Luffy, we'll get the key, but if he pulls anything funny, we'll have to take care of him. And he was like, but why is this guy here? And Nami's like, he's my new slave. He's like, I'm truly blessed. Caught it, thanks. And Zeus says, don't forget, I'm number one. I'm number one, and Sanji's number two. And Rod's like, strong girls really get my blood pumping. He says, been struck by lightning literally. And Rod says, Nami Tasso, isn't it neat that how we're both navigators? And Nami's like, don't ever try to get close to me again. And he's like, yes, ma'am. And she says, it feels wrong for a guest of honor to bail so early. And then Luffy says, don't worry, I brought some meat. Have you tried this moose? And then, yeah, Rose says, they're all in a drunken stupor now. They probably can't remember what they're celebrating. And Nami's like, say, if all the treasure in the castle suddenly disappeared, will that be a problem, Road? And he's like, my vision is awful, so I'm sure I wouldn't even notice. And he's like, you had this in mind since the beginning, didn't you, Nami? Your eyes, she's got the berry eyes again. And then, yeah, laughing, so that's what it is. And then Realm of the Dead and says, if I understood you correctly, then I'm afraid I'll have to step back and refuse your offer. Sure, it's an honor to be invited to join your noble knights, but that would make you celestial dragons, right? Do you really expect anyone on the planet to willingly become scum like that? And so yeah, it's this Shanks look-alike saying, do we have any intel? It says all the informants we sent to Elbaf reported a giant crown heading for them before their transmissions got cut off. Their weakness is beyond belief. Okay, now we actually get to see this girl's face. It says, I'm done just standing by and listening if this is the definition of impertinence. Okay. Gunko, God's Knights. And she says, I won't let it stand. And then this Shanks lookalike says, don't be hasty, Gunko. And then you got the, beast coming out and looking like, dog, eat him up, wolf. And Gunko says, hey, stay back if you want to keep breathing. She's got like an arrow kind of ability. And so, yeah, the arrow, she like moves her finger and the arrow like expands, wraps itself around the dog, and then seemingly stabs through its head or like chokes it. And then Luke's like, hey, huh? Hey, wolf. Wolf. As it gets like dragged into the air. And then, yeah, it's like Shanks lookalike or whatever we're calling him. Says if we were to spare him, would you change your mind then? And he says, Luke is like, so that's how you operate, huh? Well, if that's your offer, I'd accept my new friend. I'd accept my friend's fate and wish him peace and death. It's okay to grieve and rage, but a warrior never kicks and screams in the face of death. Loki says, I'll swallow all my fury and use it to fuel me when I reduce this world to rubble. This is a proud proclamation. So, yeah, Luffy and the others are heading towards Loki because Luffy got found out by Zoro and Nami, at the very least. But yeah, if you enjoyed this chapter, or enjoyed the reaction to the chapter, then leave a like, comment on the video, sub the channel, and I'll see y'all next